You are listening to Wealthy Muslim Woman Podcast, episode number 29 with Saima Ali, MD. Hello everyone, how is everybody doing? Hasn't the weather been crazy? I live in New Jersey and it feels like we're in spring already. The weather, it's so nice outside. It's been in 50s and 60s. We've barely had one snow. And it's really freaky when you think about the climate change and everything. But at the same time, it feels really good to go outside and enjoy the sun. I don't know. Praying for the planet. I hope it doesn't die. And it's here for a long, long time. And I hope the leadership around the world recognizes global warming and takes some steps to make some changes. Anyhow, today I wanted to speak about being authentic, showing up in this world as our true authentic selves. And it came up because one of my friends asked me recently, she said, how do you have your life so well put together? And the honest answer is that I don't. I struggle with things on a daily basis. There are things that bother me, and I have learned to make changes, and I've really worked a lot on myself and on my thoughts and on how I perceive my life and everything else around me. And I'm glad to say that I am at a much, much better spot where I am content with myself and my surroundings, but I still have a lot of work in progress, mostly on myself, because at the end of the day, it is us that we have to work on. One of the secrets that I've learned is that we will not be able to change other people around us, no matter how hard we try. Other people, other situations will most likely stay the way they are. And it is us that we have to learn to adapt to our environment. So, and when I started noticing all these changes in myself and how it was affecting not only me and my relationships and my relationships with not only people, but with other things like my money and my work and everything else, I really wanted to share all this with everybody. And that was my main reason for starting this podcast. And I was like, why doesn't everybody know this stuff? This is just so crucial. And my goal was never to really hide anything. I want to show up as my true authentic self with the problems that I face and then sharing those problems on how I overcome them. So that's always been my goal. And it's especially hard in these days, especially with social media. It feels like we're all living pretend fake lives. And there can be two types of pretend fake lives. One is somebody who's truly not happy. They're not in a happy relationship. They're not really rich. They may be living in debt. And then they'll go online and they'll post pictures of vacations and they'll post pictures of expensive food and expensive clothes and bags and these happy relationships. And that can be a lie, but at the same time, there are other people who are very successful. They've figured out the secret of life. They know how to manage their emotions and they know how to manage their life. They have money, they have success, and they're happy and content. But at the same time, they will hide and not show up as their true authentic self and not post pictures of their vacations and not post pictures of the good food that they're enjoying or the happy relationships that they have, because they don't want others to judge them for having a happy life, or They say they don't want others to feel jealous of their happy life. And in my opinion, both of these things are a lie. You are lying whether you pretend that you are happy when things may be bad, and you are lying if you are pretending that you are not enjoying this life and you are not enjoying the luxuries that life has provided, and you're pretending like you're not living that life. That's still a lie. And the major problem is that most of the time we are lying to ourselves. We don't like to admit to the emotions that we are feeling. Let's say we are craving a food that we don't think we should have. We tell ourselves that we really don't want it, instead of saying, I know my body is craving something right now. I know my body is wanting something right now, but I am making a decision to not eat that right now. I am making a choice to not eat what I don't think is on my protocol or on my diet. Instead, what we end up doing is resisting, telling ourselves that we are not feeling that way, that we are not craving this thing, and that's just a pretend fake feeling of craving. And we end up denying ourselves from feeling that feeling in the moment. And what ends up happening is that resistance doesn't work. Our body ends up rejecting it, and at the end we end up eating what we're trying to resist anyway, and then we end up beating ourselves for going against our plan. So the first and foremost important thing for us to do is to start telling the truth to ourselves. Don't pretend and don't lie to ourselves. Before we learn to forgive others, we have to learn to forgive ourselves. We are our own worst critics, and I think one of the main reasons is because we are not authentic with ourselves. We don't know who we are, and we think we are this other person, and when we do not pretend or behave as this other person that we have our mind set to be, then we end up criticizing ourselves and beating ourselves down. And again, that leads to the whole cycle of being unauthentic, resisting, beating ourselves up, and then going back into the same habit or same circle. So we really need to get to know who we are, how we would behave in a certain situation. And sometimes we find out the hard way, where we are put into hard situation, and that's how we learn how we would react and behave. But it's important to get to know ourselves just thinking about who we are and how we would behave and what we would say just by being us with our own selves. And this does not mean that we judge ourselves or we beat ourselves up and we are hurtful. Instead, this is coming more from curiosity, that we want to develop a relationship with ourselves, see who we are, and in a loving and a kind way. And we really have to learn to trust ourselves and our true selves, that they will show up as someone who will help us create the world that we desire, that we envision ourselves to be living at, by creating the love and healthy relationships that we desire. And also, when people hide success, that's very troublesome, because you can be out there inspiring somebody else to be successful, to live where you are living, to aspire to get the education that you have, and to go to that next step in their life. Set an example for the younger generation. or others in your life at the same time, your friends, your colleagues, your cousins, your whoever is there watching you. You could be an example of the life that's possible. And there are so many successful people, and they have success in all the areas. And mashallah, it's amazing. And I don't understand the fear of sharing. We definitely do not lose anything if we share something, be it knowledge, be it, if you are good at a certain skill, all those things get improved if you are sharing. It's funny that when we have kids, we are trying to teach them all of these good habits of sharing their toys and of being nice and kind, and yet we maintain some of these toddler behaviors from our childhood, and we become the children, in a sense, who's trying to have their own toys and hide it and trying to protect it from others, if thinking that if the others get to see your play, then we may end up losing something, and that's just not true. All the positive attributes of generosity, giving, being grateful, being thankful, and being forgiving, all these things have so many benefits for our own selves that you can't even put that to words. We really do not start living our true self until we are living these qualities, and we do not feel content or happy in our lives until we start giving. There's a really good book called Relationship Breakthrough by Chloe Madonna, and it talks about basic human needs. It says that every human has 6 basic needs, and one of the needs is actually contribution, to go beyond our own need and give to others. The book states that we really feel incomplete in this life, a life that doesn't really make sense, if we do not make a contribution to others or to a cause. Our nature is actually to be giving, and giving can be anything. It can be a charity donation. You could give somebody a gift if you're seeing them after a long time. And in Islam, even smiling is considered charity. So there's mandatory charity. You should share 2.5% of your whole wealth with others. But if you do not have any money to share, even smiling at others is considered charity. That's how important giving is. Just being nice to our neighbors, being nice to our friends, being good with the people around us makes us feel better and good and complete. Giving is considered essential to our to our sense of fulfillment and to our happiness as human beings. And this is part of almost every major religion and every major culture that we hear or talk about. It is very important to find a way of giving back, and that helps us to connect with our true authentic self. Our own problems and our own pain becomes less noticeable and less recognizable when we start paying attention to other people. So my friends, there are really no reasons for hiding or for lying about who we are, and do not be afraid of any judgment. When we are afraid of judgment from others, we are actually judging ourselves, and that's really important to understand. When we are critical of others, we are really being critical of ourselves and of our thoughts. And when we start showing up as our true self to our own selves, then the world just gets better around us, and our vision and our thoughts and everything just changes around us. So in the end, I definitely do not mean to be pretending that I have this good, amazing life. I do struggle with things. I worry about time management. I worry about my kids. I worry about myself, my health, everything. But the skills that I have learned over the last couple of years has helped me tremendously. And those are the skills that are more important that I am trying to convey and show you how your thoughts and your ideas and your life can change as well if we start applying those ideas. And you really have to be conscious about these choices on a daily basis. Every choice that we make, our brain just loves going back to the old habits, to who we were, because that's just so familiar and that's just so easy to go to. But when we start consciously paying attention to our thoughts and our behaviors, it changes everything. And that's amazing and super important again. So I hope that I've convinced you to at least tell yourself the truth, no matter what it is. If you're angry at your kids, if you're angry at somebody, then at least tell yourself how you're feeling. Now, that does not mean that you react to those feelings. You can recognize it and also recognize that your kids or your relationships are wanting the best of you because they want to spend time with you or they love you, and to remind yourself of those things, and then that helps you connect with your positive self, and that is your true self. Your positive self is your true self, but at the same time, do not deny the other self. I hope that makes sense. If not, let me know and I'll try to clarify more later on. And inshallah, we'll talk about another financial topic next week. I really want to speak about taxes, how to do your own taxes and what things to look at because the tax season is coming. And then also I wanted to talk about ETFs and mutual funds. I've got a couple of questions about that. What is the difference and which one is better, if any, or if there's a major difference between them. So we'll discuss them next week. And I also wanted to say, I think my course release might be a bit delayed. I have pretty much all the material ready, and I just need to sit down and record everything that I need. But I'm having a couple of other issues with the websites and stuff like that. So I need to really figure those things out. And I think the course release will likely be the first or second week of February now. Okay. All right. I'm looking forward to speak to you again next week. Bye till then.